Please give us good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Okay, so where is Akash? Joanna, Nitya, Purvi are there. Where is yes. Can you hear me now, all of you? Vishnu, Joanna, Nitya, Purvi.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I'm just asking, Akash is from your class. Is he from your class? Purvi.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So he's not coming to the class. Last week also he did not come. So that's why I'm asking. So anyways, now Purvi, can you give the recap of what we did in the previous class? So I think we completed spermatogenesis. Yes. So can you give me the recap of spermatogenesis?
So there's a
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
so the testis is made up of several chambers called vesicle.
No. I'm asking. So that is, we are done with male reproductive structure. We completed female reproductive structure, and then we move ahead with the spermatogenesis. That is a gametogenesis. Under gametogenesis, we started with spermatogenesis. So what is spermatogenesis? Can you give the steps involved in spermatogenesis?
First, the spermatogonia in the seminiferous tubules, they undergo mitosis and it produces primary spermatocyte. Then the primary spermatocyte undergoes meiosis to produce secondary spermatocyte. So secondary meiocytes, secondary spermatocytes are haploid. Then the secondary spermatocytes undergo another meiosis and they form the spermatids. And the spermatids form the sperms.
Okay, so now what is the ploidy of spermatogonia, primary spermatogonia? If there are 4 spermatogonia, primary spermatogonia, how many sperms would be produced? If there are 4 primary spermatogonia, how many sperms would be produced? Joanna?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Ma'am, could you repeat the question?
If there are, okay, let me, where did I write that notes? How did I show that? Okay, let me show you the notes. Yeah, if there are 4 spermatogonia, primary spermatogonia, how many sperms will be produced? This is how the questions will be asked. You should know this, right? Purvi,
I'm getting 128.
sorry,
128.
how 128? 4 primary spermatogonia. So primary spermatogonia is produced from what? Primary spermatogonia is produced from
Seminiferous tubule.
cuboidal cells. Some of the cuboidal cells undergo, they become big. I told you which are the 3 phases here: multiplication phase, maturation phase, and growth phase and maturation phase. So what is multiplication phase? What would get multiplied?
Cuboidal.
Correct. So I'm trying to log in here, it's not happening. Yeah, so the cuboidal cell would get multiplied and they develop into
Spermatogonia.
spermatogonia, primary spermatogonia, primary spermatogonia. How many primary spermatogonia are there?
4.
Primary spermatogonia are from each spermatogonia. How many primary spermatogonia are there? So what division would occur for the formation of this primary spermatogonia?
Mitosis.
Mitosis or meiosis? How did you get primary spermatogonia? First division of meiosis. So why everybody is perplexed and giving wrong? So let me take this just a minute. I would like to take this here. Just a minute. Let me open this also so that they will get to see me and probably the answer would be better. Yeah. It's become dead slow. Yeah. Yeah. Can you see me now? Am I audible? Can you see me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, because this is a hybrid class and these children also come here. So, yes, I have used this already. Last week I showed you with that, right? Yes. So this is the picture I was about to wanting to show you. Let me share the screen. Yeah. You all can see the screen right now. Yeah, I can see here means you will also be able to see. So we learned this last week. So now I asked you here, if at all there are 4 primary spermatocytes, how many sperms would be formed? Primary spermatocytes, that's what I've been. उनको दे दीजिए. Spoon लगा दीजिए. Spoon. Can you answer this question? See here, Vishnu, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what's that we learned in the previous class? So we told that. So this is the natural. This is very important for you. So when this spermatogenesis begins in male, on the onset of puberty, please remember, on the onset of puberty it happens. So just now I told you, so maturation phase, multiplication phase, what would get multiplied? So what is that it is getting multiplied? So this is the best picture I told you, and I told you to make it a point also, flow chart. So this is the best picture. So this is the spermatogonium undergoes repeated. So some of the cells of the cuboidal epithelium undergo repeated division and they become spermatogonia. So these spermatogonia, नहीं है अभी. अमन सर के साथ देखिए. दिया है नहीं. रख दो. मैं देती हूँ आपको पैसे बाद. Okay, I'm sorry. So here they undergo repeated multiplication here and they form a mass of cells and these cells grow bigger and bigger. Are you understanding? So that's the growth phase. So now what is this maturation phase? So these cells becomes primary spermatocyte. I told you here only. What are primary spermatocytes? Those cells which undergo meiosis. What are spermatogonia? The one which becomes spermatocyte. So from where are they different? They arise from. They arise from the cuboidal epithelium of the seminiferous tubules. Okay, germinal cuboidal epithelium. So why do we call it germinal? Because we get that in the reproductive structure. Please remember. So if there are, so now Purvi, so let us go to your knowledge. What did you say? 180. So how did you get 180? So I told you there are 4 primary spermatocytes. Here from 1 you are getting 4. From 4, how many you will get? That's it.
16.
That's it. From 1 you are getting 4. From 4 you get 16. So here again I am repeating. So we learned under spermatogenesis. So what is that? So we get 4 spermatids. So now these spermatids get motility. What do you call it as? Spermiogenesis. Are you understanding? So when they get Motility, it is spermiogenesis. So when they are discharged or when they are released into the lumen of seminiferous tubule, what do you call it? Spermiation. So 3 words. Under spermatogenesis, you get first spermatids. Under spermatids, these spermatids will get motility. So that means motility, how do they get? So the shape changes. Spermatids are just, you can see, with the cells which are attached to the cytoplasmic bridge. In the picture, you can see clearly. So now they are attached to the cytoplasmic bridge, and now these bridge have to break. So the formation of the acrosome, the shape changes, correct? So they become like this, right? So that is the sperm. So that's called as spermiogenesis. And now these are released into the lumen of seminiferous tubules. What do you call it as? Spermiation. Is it clear, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Online students, all of you, is that clear? So now when it happens, when this happens on the onset of puberty, so I told you here also, this is the picture that's given in your NCRT, and we discussed this now. So this is spermatogonia, germinal cuboidal epithelium. So then they become primary. So now they have grown bigger. So you can see that. So they become primary spermatocytes. They undergo meiosis to form secondary spermatozoa. So sorry, secondary spermatocytes. Now what is the ploidy of secondary spermatocytes? Haploid. Don't tell N alphabets. You should never be telling. You should tell haploid. So now these haploid secondary spermatocytes again undergo the second meiotic phase to form 4. So they are attached together here. So clearly we have shown in this picture. See here. So they are attached together. Can you see these 4? They are attached together, and that's called as spermatids. So these spermatids attached with the cytoplasmic bridge. So now to break that cytoplasmic bridge, there is enzyme is required. So who forms that enzyme? I had told you this. Who is forming that enzyme? Who is secreting that enzyme? Sertoli. What is Sertoli? Why do we call it Sertoli? Nobody asks these questions. This is how you have to keep asking the questions. What is Sertoli? In which country you find the name Sertoli as a surname? Italy. Very good. Good knowledge. In Italy you find. Graf, where do you find? Surname. Steffi Graf, have you heard? 3 times, I think, Wimbledon winner. Steffi Graf is famous. Have you heard about Steffi Graf? Online students. Nitya.
No, ma'am.
No. Okay, Graf is a surname. Why am I asking Graf? So now in oogenesis, you will get the word Graf. Okay. So here Sertoli is the name given by, is a scientist. Okay. Italy.
No, Graf.
Graf is Germany. Yes, you're right. Good. Okay. So this much is the knowledge. So now hopefully you know that this is another important point that will be asked in NEET. So we are done with that. Now let's go to oogenesis. So before going to oogenesis, so how this spermiogenesis takes place? So that means each spermatid will acquire a special, I think this also I have told you. Okay, so now straight away let's go to oogenesis. So now how is this oogenesis different from spermatogenesis? How? What do you think? In oogenesis also we have the same processes: multiplication phase, growth phase, and maturation phase. But how is it different? Very good. So I had told you this, right? So during embryonic stage, this happens. Okay, all of you, are you listening to me?
Yes.
Online students. Okay. So this oogenesis takes place during the embryonic development. So that means when the all the female, when they are become embryo in their mother's womb, uterus, so the follicles develop, the gamete mother cell. So that means meocyte, whatever you call it as. So they all form so many. So for that I have here, so I will show you how it happens. So now let's take the very first. I want you all write along with me. So this is very important. Commonly asked in CBSE, 3-marker and proper depiction will fetch you all the 3-marker, and lot of questions also would come under NEET. So what is that? In embryonic life. Embryonic life of the female. So we are talking about oogenesis, so therefore it is female only. So which cell underwent became spermatogonia? Online. I want answers only from online students. Which cells became spermatogonia?
Cuboidal epithelium.
Cuboidal epithelium. Where are they present? Cuboidal epithelium. Where are these cuboidal epithelium? Inner lining of the seminiferous tubule. So that means the structural and functional units of this reproductive system is seminiferous tubules in male. So what is the main primary organ in female? Ovary. So now ovary is also lined by the epithelium. You know that inner lining and the outer lining of the body in animals is epithelium. So here also we call it as germinal epithelium. So epithelium lining the reproductive structure is germinal epithelium. So here also some of the germinal epithelium undergo lot of division. When that happens? In the embryonic stage. So now so many cells here, so they undergo, so what we can call it as primordial germinal cells. Anytime you come across primordial means what? Primordial leaf cells, primordial shoot cell, primordial floral primordia means what? So the initial cells which begin, are you understanding? So primordial cells. What happens in them? What is the ploidy here? What is the ploidy? Online students, I want you guys give the answer. Go on giving me the answer.
Diploid.
Sorry?
Diploid.
Diploid. So if I have to write it with respect to chromosomes, how do I write here?
46.
So 44 plus XX, because X is a chromosome. So now in the embryonic life, so what happens? Growth occurs. So growth means what? What do they become? So germinal epithelium has become spermatogonia. So now primary germinal epithelium cells become their spermatogonia here. Oogonia. Very good. Singular is?
So the germinal epithelium go through division and form primordials.
Yes, when it happens, so in the embryonic stage of the female, germinal epithelium undergo lot of division, and what do you call that as? Multiplication phase, right? So that's called as multiplication phase. They undergo lot of multiplication, and so they become oogonia. Is this much clear, all of you? So by the time, so that means embryo implantation takes place in the very beginning. So by the time of 24th week, sorry, means how many? 24th week will be how many months?
6 months.
6 months. So by the time of 5 to 6 months, 5th to 6th month of the fetus, what is there here? Oogonia will be there. So that means oogonia will be little bit more cytoplasm, little bit bigger than the rest of the cells. That's all. So this is the oogonia. Is it clear? So now this oogonia, what is the next phase? Growth phase, right? So will grow into what? Will grow into what? Spermatogonia grows into primary spermatocyte. Oogonia grows into primary oocyte. Got it now? So it grows into primary oocyte. So now what is the ploidy? What is the ploidy? Keep giving me the ploidy. Every step you understand. 44 plus XX again. So that means 2n. So here, what is this ploidy? 44 plus XX. Again, it is that much only. Is it clear? So now, this primary oocyte in the fetal stage, what happens? Undergo meiosis. So that means just before the female is born, please understand, just before the female is born, this primary oocyte undergoes meiosis.
Before that, it's fine.
Of course, all of them becoming bigger. They're getting specialized compared to the rest of the cells in the epithelium. Correct. So that is becoming prominent. See, 100 people are there. So now, who will tie the bell to the cat? They will ask. One person will stand up on the table and say, I will do it. Correct. So that cell is the oogonia. You understand? So here what happens? So meiosis it undergoes. When it is still in the fetal stage. So this meiosis will happen. Please carefully listen, all of you. This is totally different from that of spermatogenesis. And what is the first phase of meiosis? I want online students go on giving me answer now.
Meiosis 1.
Meiosis 1, what is the first phase?
Prophase 1.
Under prophase, there are so many phases. Which are they?
Leptotene.
That's all?
Leptotene, zygotene, pachytene, diplotene, diakinesis.
Correct. So leptotene, bouquet stage. Okay. Zygotene, pairing up. Right? That is called synapses. So then pachytene, crossing over. So then diplotene, proper chiasmata is formed. So now at this diplotene stage, it stops. Got it now, all of you? So meiosis starts and stops at diplotene here. Better word for this is get arrested. Meiosis would get arrested at diplotene. Get arrested at diplotene. Is that clear? What is a ploidy? Okay, what is a ploidy? That is a, how well you have understood, I'll come to know. What is a ploidy?
Diploid.
Diploid only. Why? Meiosis has not happened. Meiosis is still happening. So once it is happened, the first meiotic phase is happened, then only 2n becomes n. Right? So it is still at diploid, but meiosis has not happened and it is arrested at, okay, let us write for your, so now it is still at 2n stage. Correct? Yes. All of you, is this much clear? Correct? So now So these primordial structures start becoming follicular structures. So what is follicles? Follicles means when the primary cell, that is the nucleus of the cell, when it is surrounded by other cells, it's called as follicles. Are you understanding? When it is surrounded by the other cells, that's called as follicles. So now they start becoming follicles. So how many will be there here? So there are around, so when they begin, so there are about 7 million. So now by the time here, so they have become primary oocytes, they have become 2 million. So atresia we say, follicular atresia takes place. So now at birth, how many follicles will be there? So they become transformed into primary follicles. How many primary follicles will be present in the females at birth? At birth. So there will be 2 million follicles. So primary follicles means, so just the cell surrounding it, like this. So let me show you here. Can you see the primary follicles here? Can you see in the picture?
Yes.
Can you see in the these are primary follicles. Got it now? All of you here?
I didn't understand how it became from 7 million.
Okay, so now at birth you remember, this is not required. I will tell you now what will happen. That no questions will be asked on that, do not worry. So now, how many are there at birth? 2 million, a female, a healthy female baby will be born with the uterus having 2 million follicular cells. Is that clear? So now, this which is arrested, okay, so this becomes primary. What do you call them as?
Primary follicle.
Primary oocytes become primary follicles now on the onset of puberty. Okay, so on the onset of puberty. So what will happen on the onset of puberty? So let us write that. At reproductive stage. Are you understanding, all of you? At reproductive stage. So now what is happening at reproductive stage? Which hormone will influence the maturation of these follicles? FSH. What is the full form of FSH? Follicular stimulating hormone. So now at reproductive stage, so these follicles start maturing. So the primary follicles become, do I have this? Yes, look here. So development of ovarian follicles coming under the influence of FSH. So now can you see primary oocytes? So what is primary oocytes? Which is arrested at diploid. So now primary oocyte. So surrounding that granulosa cells are formed. The cells that are formed surrounding the primary oocyte is called as granulosa cells. So now these granulosa cells, can you see? So this is the secondary follicle. So what is more layers of granulosa cells and a new theca. Theca means covering. Okay, theca means covering. So forms around. So this is the theca cells and surrounding this cortical granules. Okay, surrounding the main nucleus, there are cortical granules and surrounding that we have granulosa cell. So now, what is happening in the next stage? So many granulosa cells form. Okay, so there will be an arrangement of the internal arrangement. So they form a canal. They form a canal in between. Can you see? And finally, so they form Graafian follicle. A mature follicle is called Graafian follicle. So it's named after Graf, Rainer Graf, a German scientist. Are you understanding? So it's named after him, and this is the Graafian follicle. So how is the Graafian follicle? Theca externa, theca interna, and this is antrum, and this is granulosa cells. These cells are granulosa cells, and surrounding the primary oocyte. So the hill region is called as the corona radiata. Are you understanding? And this region to which it is attached with the mass of cell is called as cumulus oophorus. Cumulus oophorus. Are you understanding, all of you? So now let's go back and see.
Also in the center is the oocyte.
Yeah, so let's go back and write that fully now. So what is happening? So primary follicles. So at reproductive, when the female attains puberty, so that is called as reproductive stage. Are you understanding? So what is happening? So primary follicles become, so grows into a secondary follicles. Secondary follicles become early tertiary follicles. So these are early tertiary and these are final tertiary, which is mature tertiary is called as Graafian follicle. Tertiary follicles and tertiary follicle become Graafian follicle. Is it clear, all of you?
Also the early tertiary follicle mature into tertiary.
Graafian follicle. So it's named up. Graafian follicle is a mature, completely mature tertiary follicle is called as Graafian follicle, which is named after that person. So when it happens, Graafian follicle, when the female enters into the puberty. So now mature Graafian follicle completes the first meiotic division. Imagine when it started, when it is completing. So till then, it's a inactive place, inactive stage. So now what happens here? Completes meiosis 1. What is the result of meiosis 1? Now tell me. What is the result of meiosis 1? Nitya. Nitya,
Yes, ma'am.
what is the result of meiosis 1?
Ma'am, two daughter cells.
Correct. Just like that you say. What is the result of meiosis 1? Will be your question in your question paper. What do you write?
Ma'am,
You
they're
write
also
two
haploid.
The result of, yes, they are meiosis 1 is formation of two daughter cells which are haploid. So parent is a diploid, correct? Parent cell. So now it is haploid cells. So two daughter cells which are haploid. Now here one important point all of you should notice here is meiosis occurs, but cytokinesis is unequal. So one becomes the fat bigger cell and another becomes the small cell with almost no cytoplasm, almost negligible or no cytoplasm. And that's called as primary polar body. What do you call it as? Primary polar.
Mom, at which stage does it become haploid? in the tertiary follicle.
So now Graafian follicle is formed.
Yes.
So Graafian follicle now undergoes what? Meiosis 1. Correct? So now meiosis 1 is finished.
Yes.
So now at meiosis 1, what is happening? Unequal cytokinesis happens. One becomes the bigger cell, another becomes the small cell. And what do you call that small cell?
Primary.
Primary polar body. So this small cell and both, what is the ploidy? So now ploidy is N, both of them, correct? So which means 22 plus X. Am I right? And this also 22 plus X. So chromosome is same, but cytoplasm is not there. Cytoplasm is required. So karyokine, that is cytoplasmic index and karyoplasmic index is not matching here. Did you get it?
Yes.
So now what will happen here? What will happen because of that? So now this starts. So now look here, all of you look at. So 2 million cells, by the time of the reproductive stage, it becomes 60,000 to 70,000. This is because of follicular atresia happens. So this is because of follicular atresia. Atresia means degeneration of the follicles keep happening. So out of which every time 20 to 30 follicles start developing, but only one becomes Graafian follicle, and that Graafian follicle will have, what is Graafian follicle has now? Graafian follicle has one polar body and one proper cell that is called as secondary oocyte. Is that clear now, all of you? So now primary oocyte has given rise to secondary oocyte and one polar body. Is it clear, all of you here? Is it clear now? So now immediately, soon after it is formed, secondary oocytes start undergoing the second phase of meiosis. Online students, are you understanding?
What is the
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So now take a look here. This secondary oocyte again. So the second phase of meiosis has to happen. So now the second phase of meiosis begins, but will get arrested at metaphase. Are you understanding? So meiosis begins. Yeah. That's right. It's not like spermatogenesis. Very easy. Meiosis begins but get arrested. At what stage? At what stage?
metaphase?
At metaphase.
Metaphase 2.
So metaphase, yeah. At metaphase, it will get arrested. Meiosis 2 only we told, no.
Yes.
Meiosis 2 begins but will get arrested at metaphase. So now, what is there in Graafian follicle? Tell me. Now, what is there in Graafian follicle? All of you. Online students. Online students, what is there in Graafian follicle now? Purvi.
Is it the secondary oocyte?
Yeah, you're understanding, no? So you should be answering. So in the Graafian follicle, there is a secondary oocyte which has completed, which is arrested at metaphase. Which is arrested at metaphase. What is metaphase means? All the chromosome will get aligned on the equatorial plate. Yeah, correct. So that is called as metaphase. So now all of them has got arrested at metaphase. What will happen now?
It was like for some animals it's arrested for like a year, 6 months.
Here at metaphase, it will get arrested. I'll tell you. So now, what will happen here? So let me make it little small. So I need little space.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah,
Ma'am, what happens to the primary polar body?
it is also there. That's not having any cytoplasm. Correct? So that degenerate. So because it has no cytoplasm, almost negligible or not there. So polar body, very good. You're asking. So that's how you should ask. Degenerate. That degenerate. And now it is arrested at metaphase. So now this Graafian follicle is a mature follicle which is having secondary oocyte in it. Now the first time, so this is a mature follicle. So Graafian follicle discharges this secondary oocyte into the fallopian tube. What do you call that process as? Oogenesis is formation of ovum. Is it oogenesis? Graafian follicle discharges this secondary oocyte into the fallopian tube. Now, what do you call it as?
Ovulation.
Ovulation. Are you understanding? What do you call it as? Release of the secondary oocyte which is arrested at metaphase from the ovary into the fallopian tube is called ovulation. What is ovulation is a 1 mark question in your boards. What is ovulation? Release of secondary oocyte which is arrested at metaphase into the fallopian tube is called as ovulation. So how this ovulation occurs? How this ovulation occurs? By the rupture of Graafian follicle. It's not possible for you to connect it from here till there. Check. Okay. So now at this stage, please write down at this stage. Ovulation occurs.
So the secondary oocyte is inside the graphic follicle.
Correct. So now ovulation. What is ovulation? Discharge of. Is it done? Or else you can keep that little bit this side and you come forward. Can you please increase that? It's like I'm shivering. So what is ovulation, Nitya? Can you please repeat? Nitya? Nitya?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Please repeat.
Ma'am, it's when the mature egg maybe gets released and it
Release
has,
of.
yes, ma'am.
Release of secondary oocyte, which is arrested at metaphase into the fallopian tube. What is the other name for fallopian tube? Oviduct. So when it is released into that, it's called as ovulation. So when ovulation takes place, so if for fertilization, now all of you take a look very carefully. Fertilization. S means what will happen? S means, so what will happen? Now, how many Graafian follicle will be formed by the ovary? One will get matured at a time. Okay, either of the ovary. So now if a fertilization occurs, Okay, so now what will happen? I will tell you. If no, what will happen? Let us discuss. Are you understanding? So now what will happen if there is no fertilization? It will remain for 2 days. Around 48 to 50 hours, it will remain in the fallopian tube. No sperm means it will simply get degenerated. Is it clear? So after 2 days, secondary oocyte would get. So that means there is no completion of meiosis if there is no fertilization.
Also, it waits for 2 more days.
Wait means yes, it will remain there for 48 days in the fallopian tube. Not wait is a wrong word. Got it?
Yes.
When it is released into the fallopian tube, it will be there for 2 days in that environment. So then the depletion of the cytoplasm takes place and it will get degenerated. Are you understanding? If fertilization is S, so then what will happen? So that means if at all there is a copulation, so then the sperm enters. So sperm swims and comes to the fallopian tube. Are you all understanding? So then at the time of due to penetration of sperm will be there. So then what it will result in? So it result in, listen, anaphase promoting factor. Anaphase promoting factor will be there. Are you understanding, all of you? Anaphase promoting factor will get activated, and that anaphase promoting factor bring unequal cytokinesis again, and completion of meiosis 2 takes place. What is the result of the completion of meiosis? So now secondary oocyte is undergoing meiosis. So what is the result of the completion of meiosis? What is the result of the completion of meiosis? Anybody?
4 haploid cells.
2 haploid cells. So 2 haploid cells. So that is completion of meiosis takes place. And now what you call this secondary oocyte as? Ovum, egg, ootid, all are same. Okay. So this is having more cytoplasm again, and the other one with very, very less cytoplasm. And what do you call that with less cytoplasm? Secondary polar body. That's called as second polar body or secondary polar body, anything. Polar body which will get degenerated immediately. So this with lot of cytoplasm will become egg. Is it clear?
Then what is primary polar body?
What is primary polar body? When the primary oogonia undergo meiosis. So what it forms? Secondary oocyte and primary polar body. When secondary oocyte undergo meiosis, completion of meiosis, over secondary polar body. Got it now? So now this ovum, what will happen in this ovum? Fusion takes place of the egg nucleus, ovum nucleus fusion takes place. Correct? Because already sperm has entered inside. Are you understanding? So after entry of the sperm only, this will happen because axoneme is formed by whom? Distal centriole. Do you remember I have told about centriole sperm? What is present in sperm? How many centrioles are there in the sperm? Now, anybody, can you give me the complete oogonium fatafat? I don't have one empty slide here. Can you give me the oogonium? Okay, now I am taking this side of the Oogonia, fatafat. Joanna.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Quickly, let us have the recap. Embryo. So now this is the embryo of 25 weeks. So what will happen? What is formed? 25 oogonia. Oogonium. Oogonium forms. Oogonium enlarges. What do you call it as? Growth period. Correct? This is multiplication period. So it growth takes place, it becomes bigger. And what is that called as? Primary oocyte. So primary oocyte undergoes. So this is mitosis and undergoes meiosis. And what will happen? Meiosis will get completed.
So
Yeah.
the floating.
Yeah. So at puberty, meiosis 1 will be till diploting. So now how do you show in a compact way? I'm showing. So now at birth. Now after birth. So now here after puberty. So at puberty or after puberty, meiosis completes. The first meiotic division takes place. The first meiotic division results in what? Quickly. Online students, quickly. So formation of what? Secondary oocyte and
First polar body.
first polar body, which is a tiny one. So this becomes secondary, the first polar body. So this becomes secondary oocyte. Now what will happen? Secondary oocyte will get arrested. At what? Metaphase. So when is this happening? We'll get before, we'll get, yes, before ovulation. Very good. So that's how you have understanding. So it is get arrested at M2, metaphase 2. Meiosis 2, right? So now secondary oocyte again undergoes division. When it undergoes division? After the entry of sperm. And form? Ovum and secondary polar body. So what will happen to secondary polar body? They get degenerated. So this becomes ovum. If the sperm is not there, so then secondary oocyte remain for 2 days, 50 hours nearly in the fallopian tube and then dies. And dies is not a word. Degenerate. Is it clear? So this is again, I have done a short form for you and showed you. Is it clear now, everyone? Online?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So now tell me, what is permeation? So spermatogenesis. What are the, okay, before going with this, you should know these points. So what do you mean by formation of sperm is called? Okay, go on giving me the answer. Formation of sperm is called. Let me see who will answer fast. It's only for online now. It's only for online, okay? I'm sorry, let them answer. So now, okay, competition for online students. Formation of sperm is called.
Spermatogenesis.
Formation of ovum is called.
Genesis.
Oogenesis. And Liberation of sperm from the Sertoli cells of the into the seminiferous tubules. Release of sperm or liberation of sperm into the seminiferous tubules, lumen of seminiferous tubule.
Permeation.
Huh?
Permeation.
Permeation. And differentiation of the spermatid to sperm.
Spermiogenesis.
Spermiogenesis. And ejaculation of the sperm through the seminal plasma, okay, into the vagina is called
Insemination.
insemination. If it is not vagina, just the ejaculation, semination. Okay, insemination and semination. And how many sperms will be present in 1 ml of the seminal semen?
$100 to $120 million.
Yeah, that is given in your textbook. Please remember. Okay, 120 million. Okay. How many days required for the completion of spermatogenesis in human beings? Spermatogenesis, that is formation of the sperm. How much days is required? It's anywhere between 65 to 75 days. Yeah. On the onset of puberty. On the onset of puberty, everything begins in male. Whereas in female, unlike that, we have told you it is from the embryo. So at birth, there will be 2 million. And by the time of the puberty she attains, so it becomes 60,000 to 70,000 because of the follicular atresia. Okay, so this much is about gametogenesis. Now let's move ahead. So what's the time here? Okay. Follicular atresia is the degeneration of the follicular cells, because how many follicles are developed every time? So now the release of ovum takes place every 28 days. So we are going to that now. So if at all no fertilization, what will happen? So that's what we are going to learn now. Okay, if no fertilization, and what will happen? They degenerate. They degenerate. But so during oogenesis, so there will be changes in the uterus also. So that is what we are going to learn now. Okay. So before going to that, let's take a look at this. So it's a formation and maturation of the ovum. It takes place in Graafian follicles, and oogenesis is initiated. Please remember, it is initiated. This is all the sentences that's given in your NCRT, which I have taken here such that you people can highlight in your NCRT. So oogenesis is initiated in the embryonic stage when millions of oogonia are formed. Millions of oogonia are formed. So that is in the embryonic stage. No more oogonia are formed after birth. These are the sentences. Which of the following sentences is incorrect? So that question, you need to know this point. Is that clear? So which of the following is incorrect? So that will be your common question. So now, oogonia always multiply to form what? Online students, I want to answer from you.
Primary oocytes.
Primary oocyte, and they enter prophase 1 and get arrested at diplotin. I have told you already. And each primary oocytes, when they get surrounded by a layer of cells called granulosa cells, what name is given to them?
Primary follicle.
Primary follicle. So how is the secondary follicle change? So many primary follicles degenerate during the phase from birth to puberty, therefore to puberty. So why it happens? You can see from 2 million, it has come down to 67. And what is the name, technical term given for it? Follicular atresia. So this is how it looks. So now the mature Graafian follicle, the picture of the mature Graafian follicle is shown here. Can you see, all of you? Are you getting to see now? Yeah, so it is little delayed, no? Coming up. Okay. So now a mature follicle, Graafian follicle has secondary oocyte or primary oocyte?
Secondary.
What oocyte? Online students, do not go with the labeling given here. There is a wrong in the labeling. That's why I'm asking. Graafian follicles will have what? Secondary oocyte or primary oocyte?
Secondary.
Secondary oocyte. So this picture is a beautiful picture, but one labeling is wrong. So I purposely took it such that you people would notice it or not. So it is the secondary oocyte. Got it? Why even I am using? Sir uses that often? Okay. Okay. So this is secondary oocyte, and it is surrounded by a acellular structure. What is that acellular? Acellular means not having any cells. It's just a thick made up of some chemicals. So what do you call that acellular surrounding? Zona pellucida. This is a neat question. Acellular envelope of the secondary oocyte is zona pellucida. Okay, so then it is surrounded by granulosa, cluster of granulosa cells. What do you call them? Outer to the zona pellucida, there is cluster of granulosa cell. What name is given to that? Corona radiata. The name is corona radiata. And a hill region from which the secondary oocyte arises, a mass of tissue, mass of cell. What do you call it as? Cumulus oophorus. So this granulosa cell which form the hill. Hill means, you know, a big heap. Okay, so that's called as cumulus oophorus. Okay, so next is it is surrounded by, surrounding that is a basement membrane. Outer to the basement membrane there is theca interna and theca externa. This is the structure of a mature Graafian follicle.
Ma'am,
Is that clear? Yeah.
ma'am, could you explain cumulus oophorus again?
So cumulus oophorus is the mass of tissue here. Can you see here? I am marking here. So this is the mass of tissue, a hill-like. Hill means, you know, right? So which is connected to this one. I'm just showing, you know, here. That is the cumulus oophorus. Is that clear? So it's a hill-like structure which hold the secondary oocyte. So the granulosa cell, all these are granulosa cell only. So these granulosa cells which are formed in the beginning when the primary oocyte is formed. Hopefully you know that.
Yes.
Okay. So these granulosa cells would get arranged themselves in such a manner they form a canal inside. So what do you call that canal? A canal filled with the follicular fluid. What do you call that canal?
Antrum.
Antrum. So is it clear? So now secondary oocyte surrounded by acellular membrane. That's called as zona pellucida, surrounded by the granular cell, that is the granular cells, 2 to 3 layers of granular cell, corona radiata, and now along with this much, all of you see this much, yeah, this much would get discharged into the fallopian tube during ovulation. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so all these we told. So when does this new zona pellucida form? Zona pellucida is formed during after the formation of secondary oocyte. So this is another NEET question. Zona pellucida is not there in the beginning. It's formed when the secondary oocyte is formed. Okay, so this is how it happens. So can you see metaphase? Now entry of sperm resulting anaphase promoting factor, right? Anaphase promoting factor will promote formation of anaphase and it's moving. Okay, so now, yeah, so this is your picture that's given in your textbook. So this is the first polar body. This is the nucleus of the secondary oocyte. So this is how it is start degenerating. So zona pellucida outer to the plasma membrane. First is the oolemma. What is oolemma means? Sarcolemma, plasma lemma, neurolemma, axolemma. What do you mean by that? These are the plasma membrane of different structures. Similarly, oolemma means oocyte. So can you see this thin green structure? So that is the oolemma. Okay, so outer to the plasma membrane. Corona radiata outer layer formed of follicle cells. So these are the corona radiata. You can see here. So this is cytoplasm, this is plasma membrane, and this is first polar body. Is it clear? So now this is this much we have learned so far. We have done very, very little today. So this is I'm just showing you to how it is different. You can see primordial cell. This is also from primordial cells. This is from primordial cells from the seminiferous tubule. This is the primordial cells from the ovary. So now what happens? Multiplication phase. So repeated multiplication occurs, Spermatogonia, oogonia, right? Primary spermatocyte, primary oocyte. So secondary spermatocyte, secondary oocyte. Early spermatid and here secondary oocyte at metaphase. So now completion of meiosis after the entry of the sperm. Correct? So this takes place, but this is in embryonic stage, whereas here at puberty, at reproductive stage. This is the two difference. So that's all. So now let's understand here very important point with respect to if there is no fertilization, what would happen? So you all know that if fertilization would not happen, okay, so in the that is soon after the ovulation. Are you understanding? So Graafian follicle is named after. Yeah, before going to that, I would like to ask you one thing. So what are the hormonal influence here? Come on. Which hormones are involved here? Okay, let me take this small space here. Yes, I'm magnifying this space now. See, I'm using it. So now let's see. Anybody, can you give me the, yes, online. I want online only. Come on, tell me. On the onset of puberty, which are the hormones would get activated in your body? In female's body, which hormones?
Gonadotropin.
Where is it? Gonadotropins are produced by
The pituitary gland.
pituitary gland. Very good. So hypothalamus rule pituitary gland. You have learned that in last year. Okay. So now hypothalamus releases gonadotropin releasing hormone GnRH. Hopefully you know that. Correct? So that is GnRH. So now this GnRH is released into, will influence the pituitary. Pituitary has three parts. Pars distalis, pars intermediate, pars nervosa. Which one are we talking here?
Distance.
Purvi?
Pars distalis.
Pars distalis. What is the name given to that?
Anterior pituitary.
Adenohypophysis. A adeno, A anterior. Remember. Got it? So it has a portal system. Hypophyseal portal system. We have learned all these in chemical coordination. So this anterior pituitary. So this is anterior pituitary. Okay, so this produces LH and FSH. So this LH and FSH act upon, this LH and FSH acts upon ovary. What do they do when they act upon ovary? They stimulate. What do they do? LH and FSH. Which hormones they produce? Very good. So they produce. This is very important. I want you people also make the flow chart. Flow chart will help you a lot. So this will, you can make it in your textbook also if you are having textbook right in front of you. Okay. So they release estrogen and progesterone. What is the how do they help? What is the function of these? Yes, Purvi, go ahead. What's the function of these estrogen and progesterone? Guys, what's the function of estrogen and progesterone? You have learned that in previous years also.
Estrogen stimulates the uterus.
Correct. Very good. Which uterus, which part of the uterus will get thickened due to that? Endometrium. It's called as endometrial hypoplasia, medicine word. Okay. So estrogen helps in will thicken the endometrium. Are you understanding? So estrogen helps in increasing the thickness of endometrium. Are you understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the word
Yeah.
which you said?
So, sorry,
What was the word which you said? Medical.
do you remember that word? Endometrium hyperplasia. Hyper.
Will it come?
If you do not remember that terminology, that's absolutely fine. You should know that thickening of endometrium takes place soon after the estrogen is increased. Estrogen will be there in female. Feminine gender is formed because of that. That's the primary sexual action. But estrogen is surge of estrogen. Surge means the level of estrogen goes up when you attain puberty. Correct? When females attain puberty. So that brings the thickening of estrogen. sorry, thickening of endometrium. Is it only thickening or even the blood capillaries supply also would increase? Yes. What do you call this? Increased vasculature of endometrium. Increased, sorry, I'm drinking tea. It will become tanda. So I would put this video off now and I'll explain. Okay. Increased vascularity to endometrium. Vascularity means blood capillaries. Correct? So this will be brought by estrogen. And also, what is the other role of estrogen? Secondary sexual characteristics in female. So this is by endometrium. What is the progesterone then? What's its function? It maintains thickness. So who secretes progesterone? So now ovary produce progesterone, and progesterone, increase in progesterone happens after the release of that is after ovulation. Why? Because Graafian follicle, which is ruptured now, releases secondary oocyte into the fallopian tube and it becomes corpus luteum. Okay, so that we will learn now. So now in the beginning, when progesterone is formed, so progesterone helps in maintaining endometrium. Whatever is thickened, that is maintained. Maintaining endometrium. Are you understanding? And it decreases. Point number 2, I'm writing here. It decreases what? Myometrium. What is myometrium? Middle layer. Myometrial contractions. Myometrial contractions, when it will be more? During labor pain. So now, or else during menstruation. Okay, which help in peeling off of that. So myometrial contraction is reduced, and endometrium thickness increases when progesterone is released. Is that clear? So now, who is that hormone which will bring down all these? Which is that hormone which bring down? So now let's understand. I'll come back to there. So now we will understand this. Oh, this slide only I was looking at.
Mom, the
Empty slides.
estrogen and progesterone are secreted from the anterior pituitary.
Correct.
And even the progesterone.
GnRH
Yes.
act upon distalis, pars distalis, anterior pituitary.
Yes.
So now anterior pituitary releases LH and FSH.
Yes.
LH and FSH act upon ovary.
Yes.
So they form the follicles.
Yes.
Formation of follicles by FSH and LH, formation of estrogen. So now listen, estrogen. So now this estrogen will allow the follicular development.
Yes.
Correct? FSH helps in development of follicles. So when follicles are developing, same time uterus also getting the changes. So that's why we call it here as changes that happen in ovary. Can you see the picture? Can you see this picture, what I am showing? Changes that happen in ovary and changes that happen in uterus, oviduct and vagina. So all these changes begin during reproductive stage in female. Like how it happens in male. So what are those changes? Let's understand. So let's go here. So now, wait. So first I would like to come to this picture which is given in your textbook. Can you all see this picture that's given in your textbook, all of you? This picture gives you the complete information about all the things that's happening during these changes. Can you see me?
But the estrogen.
You cannot see me, is it?
No. Just you have two devices.
Correct. Hey, you are now, do not look at my face. I mean, my name.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You got it.
I have not changed the name. Okay. Where is Akash? Akash has joined or not today? Today also not joined.
You can give the points somewhere that people will answer.
Correct. I'm not only points, I'm planning to give them one prize also in the end. Whoever answers most of the questions in my class, they'll get prize in the end. So whoever, because every day who answers more, I'll write it down. Okay, this person, this person, this person, like that. Yes, whether it is online or offline. Quickly, whoever is very interactive, they will get one prize in the end of the session.
End of the year.
End of the session means 12th session, not everyday session. I'm not that rich. I'm an employee here, not the owner. Okay. So if at all you people are very, very active and keep answering in my class, yes. End of the session, you'll get. So those who target for NEET, they will get the prize. So they will get the life itself will give the prize. Correct. Okay. Now, suppose if there is no fertilization, but ovulation has to take place. It will happen. So when ovulation takes place, you all know it. So that is especially for boys, some of these information very important to know how much the pain the female would go through every month. You will know. So ovulation, release of egg into the second egg is the wrong word. So biology students should say what? What's the word you guys should say? See, online students are not taking any risk. They are not at all wanting to have a prize. Who wants your prize? Let me sleep. Online students,
Ovum.
you call it ovum, Purvi?
Yes, ma'am.
Biology students, what is the word? You should be release of what from Graafian follicle?
Secondary oocyte.
Correct, not ovum. So when secondary oocytes takes place, so by the same time, so estrogen and progesterone will make the endometrium thick with lot of blood capillaries. Now, no fertilization, no sperm entry. What will happen? So now, before that, so here, which are the hormones that are there? So here the hormones that are acting is, so look here in your textbook, this is given. If you know this detail of this particular diagram, you know everything. Okay, so now take a look here. So these are the FSH and LH. Okay, so this is talking about the ovary events. Ovary events with respect to the developing follicles. It's talking about that. So here they are talking about the hormones that are present in the ovary, that is estrogen and progesterone. Here they are talking about the uterine events. So how the uterine? So now look here, ovulation. Let's go from the center, because ovulation you know now. Till now you know ovulation. So ovulation has taken place now. So Graafian follicle. So this is the Graafian follicle which is ruptured. It has released its secondary oocyte. But what will happen to the Graafian follicle after releasing its secondary oocyte? It becomes yellowish color. Actually, first it becomes corpus hemorrhagicum, which is not given in your NCERT. Okay, so that's called as corpus hemorrhagicum. That's not given in your NCERT. Okay, and then it becomes Corpus luteum. Lutea means what? Lutea means what color? Alba means what color? These are all typical biology words. Yes, Jonah.
Alba is white.
Lutea means yellow. Okay. Now the corpus luteum, Graphian follicles become corpus luteum. Now this corpus luteum act as temporary endocrine gland and produce more and more progesterone. And that's called as progesterone surge. That means progesterone becomes more. And then see here, progesterone, can you see the red line here? Can you see the red line here? So progesterone, look here. So progesterone surge becomes, surge means what? Increase. So when the corpus luteum is formed, high amount of progesterone is formed and this progesterone result in. So take a look at corpus luteum, take a look at progesterone increase and take a look at the endometrium. What has happened to the endometrial wall? It is highly thickened when the corpus luteum is formed. More and more progesterone is formed. And more progesterone maintain that endometrium. So they maintain endometrium and they are richly supplied with blood vessels. Can you see the blood vessels? So beautifully the picture is given in your NCRT. This is the same picture. See. What is this? Yeah. See the pale pink to dark pink. What that means? That means vascularity is increased. Everything is so beautifully given in this picture. This picture is everything. So now when that happens, endometrium is thickened. So now no sperm, correct? If the sperm entry is there, progesterone continues to be formed. Now the sperm entry is not there, correct? So progesterone declines. Can you see in this picture? Progesterone declines. When progesterone declines, what will happen? Peeling off. That is when progesterone declines. So what will happen? Myometrium, what will happen? Contractions of myometrium begins. When myometrium contraction begins, it will result in the peeling off of the thickened endometrium along with the capillaries, which result in vaginal bleeding. So that stage is called as bleeding stage. Are you understanding which are the stages here? So that's why. Which are the stages? The first stage 1 to 5. So here in this cycle, you can see the red color. Red color is 1 to 5. That is menstrual stage. So now after menstrual stage, so 14th day is the ovulation stage. Can you see the follicles also, how it is developing? Primary, secondary, tertiary, Graphian follicle. Graphian follicle on the 14th day releases this. So now this week is considered as a fertile week. Okay. So now here what will happen? So it becomes corpus luteum. So corpus luteum becoming degenerating. So now corpus luteum degenerates and becomes corpus albicus. Okay, corpus albicans. So now after corpus albicans, it completely degenerates. So now again, the progesterone declines and now this continues. So hence, this is called as menstrual stage. Then development of follicles is follicular phase. Then 14th day is called as ovulatory phase and corpus luteum formation is called luteal phase. So menstrual phase, follicular phase, and luteal phase are the three phases in the cycle. And every time this repeats. Is that clear? So this is another beautiful pictures I got. I have just inserted for, but the picture that is given here is everything. See here.
But you said after ovulation, this secondary oocyte degenerates. And then in 2 days. And then how is it more than
Secondary oocyte is released into the fallopian tube.
Yes.
We are talking here with respect to ovary. Okay, where this secondary oocyte is released into? Correct. So it will remain in secondary oocyte will remain in the. Now what will happen in ovary? In ovary, Graafian follicle becomes corpus luteum. Corpus luteum becomes corpus albicans.
Yes.
So what happens in uterus? Correct. So soon after the follicular stage is happening here in the ovary, in the same time, it's not this happens and then this happens. Same time simultaneously, what is happening in the uterus? Same time, you can see here in this picture. Look here in this picture. So first FSH is released. FSH, when it is released, follicles developing. Are you understanding? So follicles developing, and that will result in formation of more estrogen compared to progesterone. More estrogen, you can see that. So more estrogen resulted in follicular development and ovulation. Can you see?
Yes.
More estrogen helps in ovulation, oogenesis. So that oogenesis begins and ovulation happens. So after ovulation, so then LH surge. During ovulation, there is LH goes to the peak. Luteinizing hormone goes to the peak.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why faster rate tertiary becomes secondary, becomes tertiary, tertiary becomes Graafian follicle. Okay, so now what happens? Corpus luteum is formed. So when corpus luteum is formed, estrogen becomes less, progesterone becomes more. Can you see in this picture? So estrogen becomes less and progesterone becomes more in the ovary. So that will help in maintaining the pregnancy. So hence, progesterone is called as pregnancy hormone. Suppose if there is fertilization, correct? So then zygote formation takes place.
Yes.
Then progesterone go on increasing. So progesterone is again secreted by placenta. Are you understanding? So more and more thick the endometrium becomes. So endometrium becomes so much thick that it will hold the, we will learn that now. Okay, so this is how it happens. So hence progesterone is called as the pregnancy hormone.
Yes.
Like, how will the corpus luteum know that the fertilization is happening?
Sorry?
Like, that fertilization happened. How will the corpus luteum know that it needs to keep secreting progesterone so the pregnancy is happening?
So that's what, when that breaks, when Graafian follicle breaks, it changes into corpus luteum, and corpus luteum is the structure which produces more and more progesterone.
No, but
Okay.
it needs to know like when fertilization.
Correct. When it changes into corpus luteum, it happens. So now this corpus luteum is there until, so now there is no fertilization. Ovum degenerates. When ovum degenerates, it's a signal to the hypothalamus to bring down this. Can you see here? So corpus, so bring down these FSH and LH. So when FSH and LH is brought down here again, what is that? Result in? That result in corpus luteum becomes corpus albicans. When corpus albicans is formed, everything comes down, so then peeling off takes place. Why? Simply because the job of these hormones are, I wrote it here. Correct? So the job of these hormones, I wrote it here. Can you see?
Yes.
You people wrote it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the complete information about this. So you can see here how it happens. So where the ovulation takes place. Ovulation takes place on the 14th day, which is a very much neat question. And what happens then? LH surge takes place, increase, a peak surge, a peak increase in the LH is called LS surge. Okay, so where is this ovules going to? They go into the fimbriae. Understood? So now what happens to the after ovulation? Graafian follicles will get transformed into corpus luteum, and corpus luteum secretes progesterone. So functions of progesterone makes the endometrium maximum, vascular, thick, soft. Why soft? So that the implantation should happen. It will make it ready. If it is not there, then peels off. Okay, so it inhibits FSH secretion. Why? No more follicle should develop. No, already one is developed and it is there. So that's why it inhibits FSH. So progesterone increase will inhibit the follicular secretion. This is another important point. Note it down. Now, the first ovulation in female is called as menarche, right? So the first ovulation, when the first time ovulation happens, so then there is no fertilization. Obviously, the child will be around 12-year-old or 14-year-old, correct? In Indian scenario, nowadays it is 10-year-old also, many cases. So they no sperm entry, so therefore endometrium peels off, and that is the signal parent would come to know that the menarche has happened, correct? So that is the first menstruation. And how long this menstruation is there? Every time? No. So it will happen in different women, different timing. So that is up till 50 to any time. It could end, right? So this is the information. Is it clear? So that the last is called menopause. So now tell me how many eggs are produced by a female from the time of puberty till the menopause, from menarche to menopause. Approximately how many eggs? Let's say the girl has attained puberty at 12 and the menopause happens at 50. Okay, 10 to 50, easy to remember, so that you can deduct. Between 10 and 50-year-old. So how many eggs will be formed? This is nothing but maths.
480.
How? Very good, you're right. How?
There's 40 years from 10 to 50, and
Correct.
1 year menstrual cycle happens 12 times, once every month. So 12.
Very good. That's why I told it is simpler. 40 years. So every year, 12 months. So if we told that 28 days once means approximately a month. So then 480 eggs, fertile eggs will be produced by female in her lifetime. 480. Each year is 12, my dear. 12 fours are how much?
48.
Sorry, 48. Sorry.
Learn the table and come. Okay. So now you can take a break and come back fast. So let's give the break for now 3:28. So 3:40, please come back. We shall take up implantation, how it happens, what will happen. So this is another interesting story and we shall complete this lesson today. So let's not keep prolonging with this. Okay.
Mom, I had a doubt.
Yeah.
On the anaphase occurs after fertilization.
1 second. Just take a break. Oh, I need to stop it here. Yeah.
Mom, I saw the previous year's recording was there.
I had it waiting there. So I thought I will give you only 10 minutes. and it prolonged. Yeah. So this much, is it clear to you, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So now let's understand what will happen if there is fertilization. Yeah. My video is on. Okay. So before going to that, let's take once again. So the hormonal, GnRH, quickly, FSH formation and LH. So then
Estrogen.
yeah, FSH is oogenesis, correct? LH for yeah,
Estrogen.
progesterone, correct? So progesterone is first released by granulosa membrane, remember, and also estrogen. So now progesterone, what it does, you know, and estrogen, what it does, you know, right? So this is how you need to know. So now let's say that what will happen if there is fertilization? Let's take a look at that fertilization.
From where is the estrogen secreted from?
Meaning
Now, like there would be a area where it's
ovary. Ovary is the main, testis is the main which secretes testosterone. Ovary, follicles are towards the periphery and in the center stroma. Ovary has follicles, fibrous layer to the periphery, and in the center there is stroma. So there it is secreted. Okay.
but even male have like some percentage.
So where is it secreted in male? Tell me. Where is testosterone secreted, guys? Leydig cell, interstitial cell. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah. So now let's go to the egg formation. So how is this? When egg is formed, a fertilized egg is formed in female. All of you take a look here. So when fertilized egg is formed, what type of egg is in human beings? So which means that, so let's go to reptiles, amphibians, other vertebrate organisms. So in birds, insects, soon after the fertilization, what happens to the egg? What is that egg having now? Zygote. Zygote develops into embryo. So now this embryo is developed in an egg in birds and reptiles. Correct? So fertilization is internal, development is external. That means that young ones are developed outside the body. They are present in the egg. Hence egg, isn't it? So, and this egg is having calcium carbonate, calcareous shell. And such an egg which is having calcareous shell is called as cladoic egg, which is the NEET point. Exclusive NEET point, it's not given in your group. Cladoic egg. Cladoic egg is nothing but a calcareous shell. So egg with calcareous shell. Is that clear? All of you? So now on the basis of the yolk present in the shell. Yolk means what? What is yolk? So cytoplasm and yolk. Yolk is the, how do you say yolk? What is mean by yolk? The nutrition, the nutrition that is present there. So with respect to yolk, if there is no yolk, negligible yolk, very, very negligible or nil, so such an egg is called as alecital. Alecital. Correct? Alecital egg. So lecithin, what is this? Lecithin means in biomolecules you have come across.
Fatty acid.
Phospholipid, correct? Yeah, so that means it's a lipid. Egg yolk, what is that? It's a lipid, fat, isn't it? So alecital is in humans. Little bit egg yolk is there. That's called as oligolecythal. Very easy. Oligo means small, less chain, less amount. So where do you find this oligolecythal? This oligolecythal is found in protochordata. That is Amphioxus, Belenoglossus, and Echinodermate, sea urchin, all these examples. So then moderately present lecithin. Okay, so cytoplasm is equal to yolk. Here cytoplasm is much more than yolk. So here cytoplasm is little more than yolk. So here cytoplasm is equal. Cytoplasm is equal to yolk. So what do you call such a egg? Mesolecithal. Okay, and here large amount of yolk is present. That's called as megalecythal. So megalecythal, where do you get to see? It's get to see in birds and reptiles. Is that clear? Birds and reptiles, you get to see this on the basis of yolk, right? On the basis of the distribution of yolk, you have these 4 cells. Okay, which is having, yeah. So where do you find mesolecithal? Next group, protochordata. After that, the next group is which one? Amphibia, fishes. So that's why they have mesolecithal and their egg is not having calcareous shell. Whereas cladoid egg is the egg which is surrounded by a calcareous shell, calcium carbonate shell. So this helps them to adapt to the terrestrial life. What is the advantage of that? So terrestrial life, you know that because they are dwell in the terrestrial condition. So whereas all those which dwell in water do not have calcareous shell. So what about human beings then? Non-cladoid. Why? Because the development is internal. Vivipary. Okay, so it is ovipary, vivipary. Oviparies are all these, and this is humans are vivipary, so non-cladoid. So now let's go fatafat to the structure of this oocyte and now come to the structure of, okay, so here let's understand what will happen. So when we take the structure of oocyte, already I have told you secondary oocyte, it is surrounded by zona pellucida, corona radiata, and what else? Yeah, tell me quickly. Primary egg membrane. Okay, I will start asking you. You will go on giving me the answer. Look into your NCRT also. This is the one which I showed just before. So in the center, there's a secondary oocyte. The first membrane is oolemma. So surrounded by zona pellucida. Zona pellucida is the acellular envelope, and then surrounded by corona radiata. So corona radiata is surrounded by theca interna and theca externa. So you remember this much, right? Once again, outer acellular structure. Quickly. Online, I want online students. That's why I'm asking you again. Why are they not talking? Nitya, Purvi, Jona.
You're not.
I'm on mute? No. Nitya?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, see, they can hear. Purvi, Jona, Nitya, Vishnu. Please give the answer. Mammalian egg, the surrounding. So what is surrounding the oocyte? So this is the secondary oocyte. It is surrounded by
Ulemma.
oolemma. So oolemma is surrounded by
Zona pellucida.
zona pellucida. What is the characteristic feature of zona pellucida?
Acellular layer.
Acellular transparent membrane, jelly-like membrane which surrounds the oocyte. So next is surrounding that zona pellucida.
Corona radiata.
It's made up of which type of cells? Granulosa follicular cells. And here one important point. So this is corona radiata. So these corona radiata, let's say like this. So these corona radiata has a thin layer of acidic medium, that is hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid. What do you call it as? Hyaluronic acid. Is that clear? All of you.
Yes, ma'am.
It is surrounding that granulosa. That is corona radiata. Surrounding that corona radiata, theca interna, theca externa. So this much, but theca interna and theca externa would get degenerated when the oocyte. So now secondary oocyte, this much is released. Theca externa, theca interna, where do you find? Graphian follicle. Correct? So now Graphian follicle is like this. So hopefully you remember. You want me to show the picture? You want me to show that picture? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Please take a look. So this much is, I have put the circle here. This much is released. This much has this. So zona pellucida, this is the surrounding is corona radiata. That's all is released. But theca interna, theca externa is in Graphian follicle. So Graphian releases only this much. I have put the circle now there. Did you understand? So this is important for you to know. Why? That's important for you to know the next step. So this process where the male and female unite together is called syngamy. Syngamy results in formation of zygote. See, zygote is having what is that zygote is having? 2N. So what is the name given to the intermixing of the cytoplasm here? Fertilization takes place by these steps. Which are those steps? Syngamy. Quickly. I want everyone answer. Syngamy followed by fusion of cytoplasm, plasmogamy. Are you understanding? So plasmogamy and fusion of chromosomes. What do you call it as? Fusion of nucleoplasm. Karyogamy, so easy. And intermingling of those chromosomes after karyogamy is called as amphimixis. What are the processes that happen after fertilization, after syngamy: plasmogamy, karyogamy, amphimixis. Now the resultant is, what is the resultant structure? What do you call the resultant single cell structure? Zygote. So now how this fusion occurs? Let's take a look at this. Intermingling of chromosomes. Okay. So now take a look at this. So this is egg plasma membrane. Okay. And this is cortical granules. Cortical granules, remember, this is how we are again talking about this. This is very important. And surrounding that is, so, zona pellucida and corona radiata. Now, what is present in the acrosome of the sperm, the spearhead of the sperm? It is having acrosins. So it's having acrosins. So what are acrosins? The major acrosin is, the major acrosin, hyaluronidase. Hyaluronidase. So what it breaks? Which component it breaks? This is very simple.
Hyaluronic acid.
Hyaluronic acid. Where is it present? Surrounding the corona radiata. So now when the sperms gain an entry into the ampulla region of the oviduct where the ovum is there, I mean secondary oocyte is there. Okay, so it it attaches to a particular space on the zona pellucida, and that receptors where it binds to is ZP3 receptors. Please remember the receptors to which sperms bind on zona pellucida. ZP stands for? Okay, ZP3 receptors. Sperm binding site. On ZP. Is that clear? It's made up of glycoprotein layer. What is zona pellucida? Jelly, glycoprotein. Is that clear? So now, sperm bind to that region and start initiating the acrosomal enzymes called acrosins. So the major acrosin is hyaluronidase, which breaks the hyaluronic acid. Okay, so now it gains an entry into the secondary oocytes. Now the syngamy takes place. Okay, so now the cortical cells are present here, right? So these cortical cells bring a special change in the zona pellucida. What they do? So they make this space. They bring the perivitally space and prevents polyspermy. So immediately they form a fork-like structure. So soon after one person ends, the sperm ends, it forms the outside structure very thick. Okay, it changes the morphological structure of the zona pellucida. So cortical reaction, it's called as cortical reaction, which forms the, so perivitally space you can see here. So in this perivitally space, where is this? This is the thin space here. I'm showing it with this color, blue. So blue is here. So this is the thin space. And within that space, it forms a perivitally membrane, which is called as fertilizational membrane. And what is the function of this membrane? Prevent polyspermy. So it will prevent the other sperms to enter. So out of that, one sperm enters and immediately cortical cells form a fork-like, a thick membrane-like in the perivitally space. Is that clear? So now once the sperm enters, what happens to the sperm that enters inside? In human beings, in some animals, only the head enters or the middle piece along with the middle piece enters. Whereas in mammals, whole sperm enter, write it somewhere in your book. So in mammals, the whole sperms gain an entry into the secondary oocyte. Okay, all the structures will get dissolved in egg cytoplasm except the sperm nucleus with proximal centriole. What is the function of this proximal centriole? This is an important NEET point. So what is that? All the body of the sperm will get dissolved because acrosomal enzyme are already released. Now what is there? Middle piece is already, mitochondria has used up the fructose and formed the motility. So what is left there? What is left there? Proximal and the nucleus. So then the nucleus and the proximal centriole. What is the function of this proximal centriole? It forms the spindle to complete the meiosis 2. Please remember, note down this point. So proximal centriole of the sperm forms spindle for the completion of division. That begins division. When it forms spindle, the division begins. Are you understanding? Which division? So along with AM, that is anaphase promoting factors also increase, and these two coincidentally so form together. And then the anaphase begins and the completion of the meiosis takes place. Metaphase is, it said metaphase. Now anaphase has to happen, no? Okay, so now what will happen next? The male nucleus absorb. So the male nucleus absorb the more and more nutrition and water from the egg cytoplasm. So egg cytoplasm has lot of nutrition because of the unequal cytokinesis, right? So now male nucleus becomes male pronucleus. So male nucleus absorb the nutrient, the water and the nutrition becomes male pronucleus. Are you understanding? So these male pronucleus and the female pronucleus which is formed will migrate to one particular. So there is a definite route for that. They migrate to each other and then they fuse. And that path where they migrate is called as fertilizational path. Okay, so this much is the fertilization. So now what is this lead to fertilization? Lead to the formation of zygote. Is that clear? So now look at this zygote. So let me show you the best picture. This one I will come later. This is the one. Take a look at every point here. This is the best picture I could show you. So secondary oocyte and the polar body here. Okay, so now after the entry of this sperm, so which sperm has again an entry? This one. So after the entry of that sperm, so what is happening? Sperm nucleus and male nucleus go round in one path and then forms the zygote. Go around in a particular path to form the syngamy, and that's a fertilization path. Okay, so now the zygote is formed. So what happens next? What happens next? Online students, please be active.
Cell division.
Cell division. Now, is it the same division that of mitosis? Here you have to be very focused. Is this the same division?
Yes.
That of mitosis? Is it the same division that of mitosis, guys?
Or maybe the cytokines.
Now take a look. I'm showing it, magnifying it and showing it. So now one cell has become 2 cell, 2 to 4, 4 to so many, 8. So is it the same mitotic division? See there. Nitya, Purvi, Joanna, Vishnu.
It says it's cleavage.
It says cleavage. Even I can read. But is it the same division?
Ma'am, maybe the cytokinesis doesn't occur.
What happens in mitosis? One cell becomes
It's happening in.
one cell becomes two like this
Yes.
in mitosis. So now is it the same way?
It's not.
How is it different? If it is not same, then how is it different?
It's happening in a boundary. Like, it doesn't.
That boundary is what? Pellucida.
Yes.
Leave that pellucida boundary. Now cell is what? Is the size of the cell remaining same?
Oh, it's
Yes.
half. It's half.
Is the size decreasing or increasing? Look at the picture and tell me, is the size increasing or decreasing?
Decreasing.
Decreased size. So why it happens? Okay, now nucleus size remains the same. Okay, whereas that's called as karyoplasmic index increases, cytoplasmic index decreases. Okay, see the cytoplasm is decreased, but not the nucleus size. So the karyoplasmic index increases, cytoplasmic size decreases. And here, okay, so the eggs undergo rapid cell division, rapid, in fast way, in a rate of division is very fast. Okay, so one cell become two, two becomes four, and this is same like mitosis, but this is called cleavage. And cleavage is the word given by von Baer. Are you understanding? Von Baer is the person who gave the word cleavage. And how is it different from your regular mitosis? Please take a look at this. So I would write it here. So how is cleavage? See, I magnify and I'll get so much of space. You all write this. So cleavage. What is the word cleavage? CLEAVAG. How is it different from mitosis? Okay. So cleavage is the word which is given to the division of the cell where there is karyoplasmic index increases. Okay. So the overall boundary remains the same as you said. Boundary of the zona pellucida, that is the boundary is same only. But the cell division is happening within that boundary. Hence the size is decreased. So that is karyoplasmic index is increased because of the cytoplasmic index, and the karyoplasmic index is not matching here. And here karyoplasmic index remains constant in mitosis. And in mitosis, the interphase will have, which are the phases of interphase? I am asking you guys also. G1 phase, S phase, G2 phase. But here it is a very, very, very short interphase and has only S phase. Second difference. You have told her to write? Huh? All boys are very, very.
I saw this note previous class.
And I'm seeing from that time she's writing all the notes so clearly. And after going home, he will fight with you for the notes.
No, ma'am, he just wrote half page in the previous class.
That's why. Okay. So then, lastly, here you call them as daughter cells. And here you call them as blastomeres. A mass of cells that's formed after 4-5 division is called as blastomeres. Is that clear? This much information. So please take a look here. So now 2 cell has become 4 cell, 4 cell has become 8 cell. So you can see this 8 cell stage. Okay, so 8 has become 16 cell stage. And this 16 cell stage is a mass of cell with a solid ball-like structure. What do you call that solid ball? Huh? Football.
It looks like a
Correct. It looks like a football. What do you call that? The stage where it looks like a football. I'm showing you the picture here. Guys, what do you call it?
Morula.
What is the meaning of morula? From where this bird has been originated? Morus alba. What is morus means? A 16-celled blastomeres in the embryo, which looks like a solid ball, is called morula because it looks like mulberry. Morus is the word for mulberry. Have you seen the mulberry? Arterio of berries, that is all the one flower apocarpus. There's a collection, aggregation of fruits. One flower syncarpus is single flower, that is syncarpus, single fruit, simple fruit. One flower apocarpus is aggregation of fruit. Inflorescence is inflorescence and one fruit, sorosis, jackfruit, all these. Okay, so this is now, let's come back to this. So this is called as 16 cell stage. So they will ask you the question, the embryo with 8 to 16 blastomeres is called as dash, morula. So now look at this. So once the morula is formed, so now you can see these are the single layer cell. Can you see? And then there is a mass of cell here, inner mass of cell. So this group of cells which are formed here is called as inner mass of cell, and this inner mass of cell begins the embryo formation, which is called as embryonic knob. This is called as embryonic knob. Hopefully you are making some pictures and knowing this. Okay, so it's just like this, the cells. So this is the single cell. Okay, so now here this is the single cell, and here there is a mass of cell, and this is called as embryonic knob. And are you understanding? So this forms, and what is there here? So this is the space. This is the empty space there, and that's called as blastocoele. And this structure is called as blastocyst.
From which one is blastocyst?
Here, can you see the empty space?
Oh, yes.
That's a seal means what? A cavity, correct? Seal, that's called blastocoele, spongiocoele,
Yes.
hemocoele. This is blastocoele. So what is blastocyst? This is your CBSE 1 mark question. What is a blastocyst?
After the 16 cell stage.
How do you answer? Anybody online? What do you mean? What is a blastocyst? If that question comes, how do you answer? Why do you call it cyst? What is a cyst means? When do you call something a cyst?
When there is a cavity.
When, this is an easy question which you have come across so many times. When do you call something a cyst? I'm surprised if you are not answering.
A cavity with a liquid secretion.
A cavity with a liquid secretion and is called a cyst. So that's why it's called as blastocyst. Okay, why do you call blasto? Because the cells which fastly move towards the periphery, towards the boundary. And what do you call those cells which are towards the boundary? The cells which are to the boundary. These cells. The cells which are to the boundary are called as trophoblast. Very, very important point. So in the blastocyst, the cells which are towards the boundary, which are arranged towards the outer layer are called as trophoblast. Because this layer is the trophoblast only, will get attached to endometrium. So now you are only seeing this. Now take a look at the fallopian tube and the connected cell. Now look here. This is ampulla where the secondary oocyte is released. Which color shall I take for you to? Green. Okay. So this is. Okay. So now this is the ampulla isthmus region. Ampulla region. So now see here. So it is dividing and moving, dividing, moving, dividing, moving, dividing, moving. So now this is morula has come to the end fundus region. This is fundus, correct?
Yes.
Of uterus. So now this is morula. So now morula has come here. Now morula divides so many times and the outer layer of the blastocyst is called trophoblast. Now the trophoblast will get implanted to the endometrium. So now this blastocyst has inner mast cell. What do you call that inner mast cell? Embryonic knob. And this embryonic knob will attach to the layer, these cells here. These cells are called as cells of Ruber. Ruber is a person. Cells of Ruber. So that is not asked. Recent past, it is not at all asked. If you don't know that also, absolutely fine. So now, which layer of the blastocyst would get implanted to the endometrium? This is a very important question. Is that clear? So trophoblast. Do I have that? Yes. Yes, it is here. Take a look at this. So endometrium, you can see this is the endometrial lining. So now the blastocyst digests the uterine mucosa. Mucosa means what? What do you mean by mucosa? Mucus cells, mucus glands. So they digest because they are very soft. They digest here. Okay, blastocyst almost it is digested. Now here you can see the endometrius. So this trophoblast will get implanted and endometrium grows over this surrounding. Have you seen that? Endometrium grows over and surrounds the embryo. So implantation, the stage of the embryo where implantation happens, which stage? What answer are you going to give? Online students.
Blastocyst.
Blastocyst. Which cells of blastocyst help in implantation? Trophoblast. Is it this much clear?
What if the embryonic knob was other way around?
Now, what is the site? Which site where it would get implanted? Which part of the reproductive structure?
The side with the embryonic knob.
No. Which part of the female reproductive structure implantation takes place? Where implantation? The site of implantation.
Endometrium.
Huh?
Endometrium.
Site of implantation means endometrium is a part of which one? Yes, you have to say uterus. Vagina, uterus, fallopian tube, ovary, all these are parts of reproductive structure. So which part uterus? Any part of the uterus or which part? Is there specific part? How do you write? It's a mid-dorsal. Mid-dorsal to fundus. It's not towards the end. Are you getting my point? So you are seeing mid-dorsal fundus part of the uterus. So when does this implantation takes place? After the zygote formation. You should get, there shouldn't be any gap in understanding. When does this implantation takes place? After the zygote formation. Which day? After how many days? After a week after fertilization. Okay, please write down. A week after fertilization. Implantation occurs. So by 12th day or 13th day, so this blastocyst would get completely buried by endometrium. Can you see? So this is the 12th day.
After the 14th day will be the ovulation.
After fertilization, we are taking the count of the days.
Oh, after.
We are taking the count of the days after fertilization, after the formation of the zygote. Ovulation never comes here. Ovulation only with respect to the female body. So now we are having zygote also in place. A new cell has been formed. Correct? A new cell is having the genetic of male also, father also. Are you understanding? So we are talking with respect to everything new. The cell is not there in the, it's not belonging to the female body alone now.
Yes.
So it is a part of the father's chromosome also. So now this is implanted in the female body, but after a week, 8th day, 7th day or 8th day of the fertilization. So now it proliferates. Proliferate means growing and moving forward. It's called a proliferation. You would have heard that word. So now it proliferates, and by the 12th day, it will get completely buried by endometrium. So trophoblast completely dissolve and it will start getting attached. Are you understanding? So this place of entry where the embryo enters the wall of the endometrium, okay, is fibrous. Okay, so this forms a closing plug. Okay, so now I can show you here. So now take a look at this picture carefully. This is a beautiful picture which I spent a lot of time in searching the pictures by giving different commands because I wanted the exact picture with these points. Ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. So now, once it happens, what is the function of zona pellucida here? Zona pellucida is the outermost. It is still there. Can you see? Zona pellucida is the outermost layer in the embryo which prevent improper implantation. Suppose if implantation happens in different place other than the mid-dorsal fundus region or in the other than uterus, if it happens in fallopian tube or any other place, it's called as ectopic pregnancy. It's called as ectopic pregnancy. And in ectopic pregnancy, there wouldn't be any kind of the normal processes, and it always result in abortion. Abortion means? What is abortion means? Exactly. Death of fetus. Is it clear?
Also, zona pellucida prevents
Zona pellucida will bring the proper implantation, prevent abnormal implantation. Is it clear now, guys? Is this much clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what will happen to the, see, blastocyst? This is blastocyst. Now, after blastocyst, There's another structure which is formed called as gastrula. What is gastrula? So it's a stage of division where, so it's very slow division and ultimately stops. The division stops. So the division, cell division or the cleavage stops at which place? Gastrula. Are you understanding? So this is blastula and this is gastrula, and this is the place where cleavage or division stops. Are you all understanding? So here differentiation of the blastomeres takes place and the movement of these blastomeres takes place. So what do you call those daughter cells here? Blastomeres. So what is gastrula here? Differentiation of the blastomere takes place. Differentiation means what? So the group of tissues start dividing themselves into ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. So that is formation of germinal layers. It's not formation, differentiation of the germinal layers. So all those cells. So now group of people, everybody all belonging to 10th standard, come and assemble here with it. They will assemble. Now, who all will take PCMB? Who all will take PCMC? Who all will take PCME? Divide means, then we'll go to that and this and here we will show. So then all of them moving to that. So that is differentiation, right? So that is called as differentiation. So now the division stops. Differentiation of the germinal layers takes place. 3 germinal layers, and these 3 germinal layers start moving to a particular place, and which further result in organogenesis. Formation of organ is called as organogenesis. So movement of ectoderm from the movement of ectoderm, formation of ectoderm by the blastomere is called as epiboly. Okay. Formation of, that is movement of blastomeres to form ectoderm. Okay. Movement of blastomeres to form ectoderm is called as epiboly. And movement of blastomeres to form mesoderm and endoderm is called as emboly. Are you understanding? Epiboly and emboly. And these 3 germinal layers give rise to all the organs. Slowly organogenesis begins. Are you understanding? So now I have here the stepwise movement. Take a look here. So the embryonic plug which is formed. Are you understanding, all of you? The embryonic plug which is formed. Now these blastomeres, so the central part of the blastoderm start giving rise to embryonic proper. So the embryonic plug, what we saw, what we told. Okay, so in the blastocyst, will divide, redivide, so that becomes a slow process, and they form a mass of cells, and they start moving towards the outside, that is ectoderm, and middle region mesoderm, and the innermost region endoderm. So now take a look at these cells. Endoderm layer is digestive gland, liver, pancreas, lungs. Mesodermal region, circulatory system, lungs, that is inner layer of lungs, this is outer layer of lungs. Skeletal system and muscular system, and ectoderm, outermost. So please remember, this is quite a lot of time asked in NEET, where children have attempted it wrongly, thinking that it is innermost and it should be endoderm. Because neural tissue is ectodermal in origin. Is that clear, all of you?
So even spinal cord and all is ectoderm.
Also brain also.
Neural system, where is it in your body?
That
Is it in reproduction body? Is it a part of reproductive system? Nervous tissue, where is it?
The
Brain and spinal cord. They're ectodermal in origin. Is this much clear? Online students, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God, nobody is speaking. So now let me come to this. So this is the stages of the embryo growth we can see. Oh God, it is not going. Yeah. So you can see here how it happens. So here, extra embryonal membranes start beginning now. Which are those extra embryonal membrane? So now you can see here that which are the extra embryonal membrane? Anybody? The first one is. I think this is your picture in your textbook. It is given. Yeah, this is from your picture, but this is what I have taken. So now, as soon as that gastrulation forms, so now you can see here, chorionic villi forms. Are you understanding? So chorionic villi. What is a chorion? So the trophoplast, which is implanted, starts producing a finger-like structures. These finger-like structures will enter. So will, as the fetus, embryo becomes bigger and bigger, weight is increasing. So when weight is increasing, so the implantation. So now you have to hang up to the wall a small photo. The names. So you put a small hole in the wall. So now you have to hang up a heavy photo. So what is that you do? So the nail will be deeper. So this is something like that. So the finger-like processes is formed. So which will get embedded into the uterine wall. And this is called as chorionic villi. Are you understanding? So who contributes in the formation of these villi? That is your NEET question. I've written there. Okay. So now this villi, in between villi, so now the cells will develop, and by the 4th month, okay, by the 4th month, the fetus, when it becomes 4th month, so this villi disappear. It is like a, as if it is come out, developed from that, it looks like the plug. The closing plug takes place. Wherever gaps are there, cells develop and it becomes a closing plug. Like how the cement they put, no? So they will introduce the platform, and wherever jaga is there, they will put the cement and close it. So it's something like that. That happens. And now this region of the uterus is no more called as endometrium. It's called as decidua. Where is it? It is given in your NCRT. Decidua. I think that is given here. So in this picture, you can see all those very clearly. So this is the chorionic villi. So derived from blastocyst cavity membrane. Okay. So and it is supported by mesoderm also. And next is, that is the first amnion is developed. What is an amnion? See here, amnion is, this is the embryonic plug. Okay, so now this is the amnion, which arises from the stalk. So this is the stalk. A stalk is developed. Now this stalk becomes umbilical cord. So now, wherever chorionic villi is formed, what is amnion? Amnion completely covers the embryo. After about 8 weeks of fertilization, after about 2 months of fertilization, amnion develops and it forms a stalk, connecting stalk to, and which becomes umbilical cord. So now the fetus is hanging within the amnion, and in the amnion, what is formed? Amniotic fluid. What is the function of this fluid? What is the function of this fluid? I am not going to say this. What is the function of this amniotic fluid? Okay, what is the function of pericardial fluid, pleural fluid, cerebrospinal fluid in your body?
Shock absorber.
Sure, this is the same thing. If at all amniotic fluid is not there in the developing fetus, what would have happened? Any jerky movement, even though few cells would have been ruptured, so that will result in deformity because that cell would be forming some organ, correct? So this amniotic fluid prevent the damage. It acts as a shock absorber.
So in eggs also, if we see the chicken using all this stuff.
Correct. Amnion is a very important covering.
Also it's
One of the extra embryonal covering, these are all. First is chorion, which forms chorionic villi, derived from blastocyst. Okay, and then amnion, and within amnion there is amniotic fluid. Are you understanding? So then yolk sac, you can see here yolk sac. Yolk sac is always lined by endoderm, which becomes the endoderm. Okay, so how about yolk sac in human beings? Yolk sac is always reduced because yolk is not the real cell. Are you understanding? So then allantois is also this. These are the four embryonic membranes: amnion, chorion, yolk sac, allantois. And lastly, very, very important, placenta. Got it? So what? Very embryonic, last disc shaped. It's not a membrane. It's a disc shaped structure. Okay, so that's why we are not included it under membrane. So membrane are amnion, chorion, chorionic membrane. You can see here, all these are chorionic membrane here. So all these forming a villi. So all these villi will disappear. The villi which is only towards the endometrium will remain. And that villi also disappear after the closing plug takes place. Okay, by 4th month. So that's why till 4th month, so the mother will have lot of problems, that is vomiting or nausea, sickness, morning sickness, all these. Because the body changes are happening, ovary changes, in the ovary changes are happening. So because of that, there will be lot of problems in her daily routine. Any changes in your body will change your externally, right? Even fever. If you are feverish, can you do the work? You become slow. Your eyes droop. The same thing happens to her. Okay, so amnion, chorion, allantois. So what is allantois? So the mesodermal origin, this one also, mesoderm develops into allantois. So it's a small blood vessel. The region with blood vessel is an allantois. So it forms a connection between the placenta and the fetus, which develops into umbilical cord, which forms the stalk. Allantois is very prominently develops in reptiles and birds. In human being, allantois and yolk sac are rudimentary, not well developed. So hence, based on that, we have allantonic, okay, amniotic embryo and an amniotic embryo. You are amniotic embryo.
Yes.
Okay, but allantoic embryo, no. So allantois means which is very rudimentary. So now coming to this structure. So this is how it, see here, you can see here in this every, yeah. See here, the first amniotic sac, yolk sac, and the chorion is developed. So now amniotic cavity develops. Within the amniotic cavity, the embryo knob is there. So this knob grows, and now this is how it grows. And this is the picture that is from your textbook. You should know this picture very well for your exam purpose. Placenta. So this is the, what is placenta? Yeah, anybody? What is placenta?
The connection between the blood vessels.
See here, please take a look here. The chorionic villi and the uterus tissue interdigitated. So that means these are the digits which are formed. And the uterus also will develop and they're interdigitated. So now there's no gap. So that's what will happen here. So they get interdigitated and form a completely joint structure. Okay. So, and that structure which develops into much more and form a disc-like structure. What do you call that as? Placenta. How placenta is originated? Chorionic villi. So please do write down, that is an important point. Chorionic villi and the uterine tissue will get interdigitated. Will get interdigitated with each other to form a structural and functional disc. To form a structural and functional disc which connect the developing embryo and the maternal blood, maternal body called placenta. Is that clear? So this is the complete exact definition for placenta. So we are placental mammals. So without placenta, no development.
Also, of other reptiles,
Based on placenta, there are so many different types of placenta, like in non-primates. Okay, so in man, what is that? Placental mammals. Non-placental mammals means what? What have you understood about non-placental mammals, guys?
Are they oviparous like birds?
no,
Non-placental means what? Animal kingdom. It is given.
Are kangaroos non-placental?
The placenta is not well developed. So that's why they are developed early and they carry it in the pouch. Otherwise, why? Isn't it? So now this is very important. So now this is allantois. Allantois forms the stalk and later on it becomes the umbilical cord. So umbilical cord it contains. So allantois is very rudimentary, only this part, that is the stalk. So this is the cavity of the uterus. And so this is decidua placentalis. So what do you call the region of the endometrium to which the placenta arises and the implantation takes place? So that is decidua placentalis. So cavity of the uterus, and this is the yolk sac which is rudimentary, not at all developed, and cavity of the amnion, and the other region of the uterus where there is no placenta, where there is no implantation, called as decidua paritalis. I don't think this is asked in your textbook. This is given in your textbook. Okay. So the non-placental villi, which are not very developed, not very deep, they are simply just the projections. So they are called as decidua capsularis. So decidua placentalis, decidua capsularis, that's about villi, and decidua paritalis is the region of the endometrium where there is no implantation. So now more about this placenta. So let's understand more about this placenta. So what is placenta? Yeah.
Exchange of blood.
What is placenta? Quickly,
this leg structure, which is
read out whatever I gave you.
It is formed by chorionic villi plus uterine tissue, which gets interdigitated. with each other to form structural and functional disc, which connects maternal blood and embryo.
Can one of you read here? What is placenta? Just to know whether you have written down or not.
Placenta originates from chorionic villi in uterine tissue. It's formed as a structural and functional disc which connects the developing embryo and the maternal body.
Yeah, interdigitated. What is the function of placenta? Very favorite question of the CBSE, triple star. So what is the function of this placenta? It helps in exchange of materials between the fetus and the mother, acts as a barrier. It helps in gaseous exchange, correct? It helps in bringing the food to the developing embryo, nutrition supply, and it helps in the removal of the nitrogenous waste. Are you understanding? So nitrogenous waste that is formed, nitrogenous waste has to be formed in baby. So that has to be removed. So who helps in removal of that? So that is, and when the pregnant woman, you would be knowing that pregnant woman would be put on many injections, right? Antibodies will be injected to her body against measles, against chickenpox, against polio. So all these enter through the blood and reaches the embryo. And lots of medicine, folic acid, vitamins, all these will be given. Are you understanding? So placenta acts as an endocrine gland. So what is that it produces? It secretes. Now, why it acts as an endocrine gland? Placenta is a temporary endocrine gland. So what all the hormones it secretes? So this placenta secretes human chorionic gonadotropin hormone. Have you heard about HCG? Human chorionic gonadotropin hormone. So what is its function? Its function, it acts upon corpus luteum. It acts upon corpus luteum and asks the corpus luteum to produce more and more progesterone. Why is it required? So already progesterone will be more during the cycle. So now once fertilization takes place, implantation takes place, placenta formation takes place. So it will act upon that corpus luteum to produce more and more progesterone and more estrogen also. So now, so 6 to 7 times higher the progesterone increases. So what is the main reason for this? So to maintain the endometrium throughout the pregnancy. If the person is not having that progesterone, what will happen? It results in abortion. So they give the injection of progesterone actually. Okay, and not only that, it also acts upon mammary glands to produce more and more alveoli. Okay, so hence it is a pregnancy hormone. Are you understanding? So now, what is the other hormone it produces? Human.
I think we did discuss about the
Which alveoli? Oh, okay, I'll do that. That's okay. I'll do it in the end. We didn't discuss mammary glands. Okay. So now human placental lactogen. So this is also produced by placenta. So what is the function of it? It acts upon mammary glands. It acts upon mammary glands. So that's why the development of the mammary glands takes place during pregnancy. Is that clear, all of you?
Can you tell the full form of
Human chorionic gonadotropin. You want me to write that?
Yes.
Okay. Human chorionic gonadotropin. And this is human placental lactogen. hormone. Lactogen, as the name says, you will know that it is acts on mammary glands. So what are the other hormones? Anybody?
Relaxin.
Relaxin. So relaxin is produced not in the beginning, end of the gestation, that is pregnancy. So end of the pregnancy, so this relaxin is produced, and this relaxin helps in the dilation of pubic bones. Pubic bones, pubic symphysis. So last year in locomotion and movement, you would have heard. So the pelvic girdle, the two parts of the pelvic girdle is connected by a pubic symphysis. That's called as. So the dilation of the pubic symphysis will make the way for the developed fetus, which we call baby now, to come out. So it is during parturition. So this relaxin dilate pubic symphysis. Dilate means what? Constrict, dilate. What is the meaning of it? Vasa dilation, vasa constriction, we have come across so many times in excretion and all these. What is dilation means, all of you?
Like expansion.
So, and it also acts upon. So there is another hormone called corticotropins releasing hormones, cortisols. What are those corticols? Cortisols, where are they produced? Corticotropin releasing hormone. Corticotropin releasing hormone. Where do you find these cortisols?
Adrenal gland.
Loud, please.
Adrenal.
Adrenal cortex. So, which is the major cortisol? Which one is the last year you have learned that? Which one is the major cortisol? The prominent cortisol present in your body, secreted by your body, glucocorticoid. So what is the function of this glucocorticoid? It acts upon carbohydrates. It forms gluconeogenesis. What is that? Conversion of the fats and proteins to form more and more glucose. So why more and more glucose is required here? Because the dilation of pubic, any movement of the muscle and the bone require what? ATP, energy. So dilation of the pubic bone requires lot of energy here. So therefore it acts upon. So it is corticotropin releasing hormone. So these are all the hormones. So it acts upon the release of cortisols, glucocorticoids. So therefore these are all takes place during the period of pregnancy. So that period of pregnancy. So hence placenta acts as an endocrine gland. And that period of pregnancy is, what do you call it as? What is the name given to the period of pregnancy? Period of pregnancy. Parturition is birth. Nobody knows?
Gestation.
Gestation. What is the period of pregnancy? Duration of gestation. Which of the following is the duration of gestation? What is given in your NCERT? Please tell me that. Don't you know, none of you? I'm surprised. Nobody knows duration of pregnancy.
9 months.
Weeks. In terms of weeks.
12 weeks.
12 weeks. Is it 12 weeks? That's all. First of all, without 12 weeks only population is increased. Is it only 12 weeks? 9 months and 12 weeks. How is it? There's no correlation.
Mom,
1 month is how many weeks? So then 9 months means 36. So it is
she thought the end of the first trimester.
280 days. 280 days means how many months?
20, 12 plus 136.
36 weeks or 36 weeks, 9 months or 9 days. So when you divide that 9 months into equal, so 3, 3, 3, it's called as first trimester, second trimester, and third trimester. Okay, so first, second, and third trimester. So this is an important point that is asked every time. So that is during pregnancy. So which are the hormones that will get increased in maternal blood? 1 mark question or 2 mark question. So it is estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, prolactin, thyroxine.
What is the function?
Means?
What is thyroxine?
Okay. So why thyroxine? Thyroxine is involved in what? Why the mother feels more and more hungry compared to regular people? Do you know that? Metabolic activity increases. So metabolic activity, why it has to increase? So the moment you eat chapati, chapati only will not go to the baby. It will go in the soluble form. If you eat burger, the burger only not go, right? So it will get digested in your body. For the digestion of that, what is required? Which hormone is involved in the basal metabolic rate? So the basal metabolic rate of the pregnant woman is high. So that's because of the thyroxine. So which hormone releases that thyroxine? Sorry. Yeah, which gland?
Thyroid.
Thyroid gland is acted upon by placenta again. Okay, so placenta acts upon thyroid and forms the thyroid. And placenta itself, which are the hormones they form? Without it forms progesterone, estrogen, inhibin, and HCG, HPL, and it acts upon thyroxine, and the thyroid gland, it acts upon adrenal cortex. Is this much clear to you all? So this is very commonly asked question in your NEET and in your CBSE. So now the placenta support the growth. So this is also from your NCRT. I have just put it in design, that's it. So the germ layers give to all tissues. Which are those germ layers? The tissue formation is formed by the germ layers. Which are they? Online. Okay, one online, one offline, I'll ask now. Which are those germ layers?
Ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm.
Why only Purvi is answering Nitya, Joanna, Vishnu? Slept off or what? Okay, human. Yeah. So this is very important. And yes. Battery is running low. Come. Just a minute. Money he has taken out only. No. Mine he had taken out only. That's what I'm thinking. Why is it's not working? Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yours is working.
Yes.
Okay, now take a look. This is also from your NCRT. So after 1 month, heart is formed. Second month, limbs and digits. After the first trimester, major organs. So limbs, genitals, all these are formed. Fifth month, the first movement of fetus and appearance of hair on the head. This is given in your NCRT. This complete paragraph is from NCRT. So now the body is covered by fine hair. So they will give you these points and which trimester, first, second, third, and any time. Something like that they will give you. Okay, eyelids separate and eyelashes are formed. So this has been asked quite a lot of times. So that is in the 24th week, end of 24 week, which is the end of second trimester, end of the 9th month. So now which hormone will be released? Whether you remember chemical coordination, I want to check now. End of 9th month. Joanna,
Yes, ma'am.
end of 9th month, which hormone will be released?
Relaxin.
Correct. Relaxin is produced by
The placenta.
yeah. So relaxin is produced by the placenta. Sit down. I admitted you. Yeah. So, and is it placenta that much is enough? Relaxin, is it enough for the delivery? Parturition? What is required?
The myometrium needs to contract.
Oxytocin. Oxytocin is produced by who can give the answer? Oxytocin is produced by
Neurohypophysis.
neurohypophysis. Very good. Of pituitary gland. So parturition is therefore we can say that parturition is a neuroendocrine mechanism. Justify the statement. So the famous question, please do write down the question. Parturition is a neuroendocrine mechanism. Justify the statement is the CBSE question. Neuroendomechanism. How? Explain, justify. So this will be the question. So anybody, can you answer this? Why do you say parturition is a neuroendomechanism? When the fetus is completely developed, so progesterone declines. First point. Okay, point number 1, progesterone declines. Have I written? No. Yeah. Point number 1, progesterone declines. Point number 2, can you please stop this for, where is it? You kept it back? Okay, leave it. So progesterone declines, then what happens here? So when the progesterone decline, what will happen always? As soon as the progesterone declines, what will happen? Myometrium contraction begins. Myometrial contractions. Due to this, so the endometrium becomes loose and peels. Peeling off of the endometrium begins. This induces the uterine contractions. Myometrial contraction induces uterine contractions. This results in fetal ejection reflex. It's a reflex. Okay, this induces. Reflex is connected to neural, correct? Fetal ejection reflex. So that time, what will happen? Soon after that fetal ejection reflex, so what is formed? Oxytocin is secreted by neurohypophysis of the pituitary gland. What is the function of oxytocin? It's the main, very much, please remember, it's the main parturition hormone, more than relaxin. Okay, oxytocin releases. How is it a feedback? What kind of feedback mechanism is the release of oxytocin? I have told you this last year also. Very, very important points are asked about oxytocin in exam. In NEET, what is that? Release of oxytocin is a positive feedback mechanism. Why? It's not a negative. So because, like, for example, in insulin or any other hormone, FSH, LH, so there is an inhibin. Okay, insulin will become more until the blood sugar is there. When the blood sugar is converted to glycogen, insulin will inhibit. Similarly, inhibin suppresses the formation of FSH and LH once it is job is done. So, but here it goes on increasing until the baby come out and it is no more produced anytime. So this is not for regulation. This is for the bringing particular function in the body. So therefore, it is a positive feedback mechanism. Are you understanding? So what else is this? This oxytocin, what is the function of this oxytocin? It induces uterine contraction, dilation of the pubic bones.
That already happened.
Yeah, along with that, this one. This is the main. Okay, because that's a temporary gland. This is the gland coming from your big boss. Yes or no? Yes. So, and uterine contractions bring a particular pain. What do you call that as? Labor pain. That pain is a different from any other pain. That's called as labor pain, and hence oxytocin. And also, what is the other function of oxytocin? Oxytocin has two functions: bring the uterine contraction and the labor pain. So function 2 is function 2. It's given in your textbook. Function 2 is given in your textbook. Online students. Ejection of milk. So fetal ejection reflex, milk ejection reflex. Which of the following hormone is responsible for these two? Oxytocin, you have to choose. So what is the function of, exact function of relaxin then? Yes, relax is the pubic symphysis. So it's a joint between the two pelvic girdles. Is that clear, all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Fine. So what else we need to talk here? So this much. So that is relax. Here you can see this is placenta. This is the real photo of the placenta, how it happens. And after parturition, umbilical cord is cut. Which cells are considered as stem cells?
From the ones in the umbilical cord.
Which cells are considered as stem cells? Anybody?
Cells which can differentiate into any other type of tissue.
Correct. Totipotency. The cells which have the total potential to develop into any other cell is the stem cells. Where are they? Which are those stem cells? 3 germinal layers. Okay, so they are considered as stem cells. Is that clear? So next, Okay, the enzymes, the acrosome of the sperms produced from. I'm just asking you some of the NEET questions. Acrosome of the common NEET questions from this lesson. So the acrosome of the sperm produced from Golgi bodies. Remember that. So here the largest egg in vertebral egg, ostrich egg. So that is learnt in lower grades. And then how much, what is the size of the egg, female egg? Human egg, sorry. What's the size of the human egg? What's the size of the human egg? It's given in your textbook. Smallest bird is hummingbird, so its egg is smallest, remember.
Now, human egg in the sense the ovum.
Yeah. That is human egg, fertilized egg. What is the size of the human egg? Nobody knows. Purvi? Nityam? Nobody is keeping your textbook in front of you? I'm not giving the answer. You people must and should give the answer. This is given in your textbook. Okay, this much is the story of human reproduction. Now, let's go to this. I will finish off this embryo, mammary glands.
In 6 months, what develops?
The movement takes place, digits, they all develop. So now look here. So this is the mammary gland. Mammary gland is also considered as a reproductive gland, as the development of the mammary gland takes place during the gestation period and ejection of milk is connected with the oxytocin. So what happens here? So a female has a pair of mammary glands. So mammary gland is present in many mammals, of course. So development of that happens in female. So it's made up of basically a tissue, glandular tissue and fat. So this glandular tissue, you can see this yellow, pectoral. So you know that this is the pectoral girdle. So we call it as a pectoral fat. And it is attached, the mammary gland is attached to the muscle at the dorsal side, that is a pectoral major muscle. Okay, pectoral major muscle. So what is this mammary gland made up of? It is made up of lots of 15 to 20 lobes. Okay, what are these lobes called as? Mammary lobes. And each lobes, you can see the end width. Okay, so these lobes, each of these lobes will have so many clusters of cells called mammary alveoli. So in this alveoli only milk is secreted. Okay, in the lumen of the alveoli. So how many alveoli are there on both the sides? Okay, so all the alveoli form, here you can see lacticiferous duct. All the alveoli finally form the lacticiferous duct. Are you understanding? And this lacticiferous duct opens to the outside with the help of nipple. And that area is a dark area, in much more darker in female, and that's called as areola. Okay, so now mammary alveoli, please take a look. Yeah, so mammary alveoli leads to mammary tubules, each of them tubules here. Each tubules come to the mammary duct, and mammary duct come to a broader area called mammary ampulla, and which leads to mammary lacticiferous duct. And lacticiferous duct milk ejection takes place through nipple. And suckling of nipple is a reflex. So nobody teaches just born baby. It's a reflex. And in the, please do write first this. this route, path of memory. So please write. This one you please write. So memory alveoli to memory tubule to memory duct, duct to ampulla, ampulla to lacticiferous duct. So how many are there in the path? 5. So alveoli are the region where in the lumen of alveoli only, so memory, the milk production takes place. Okay, so mammary gland is made up of fat and the lobules. So these lobules are of 2 lobes of the mammary glands. Okay, both the lobes. Is this much clear? So now the milk which is formed, very first milk, is rich in antibodies. What do you call that milk which is rich in antibodies? Anybody? Colostrum. So this is also given in your textbook. So what is colostrum? Colostrum is a yellowish form of the liquid which is rich in antibodies. And this is the characteristic feature of any mammals. Unfortunately, I don't know whether you people have you eaten the colostrum of cow? Calf. So that's actually wrong. It is for the calf. But man knows this now.
Yes.
Okay, and man steals it. So as soon as the cow gives birth to calf,
Yes.
so that thick yellowish milk is rich in antibodies. If you eat that, your immunity develops, but that is for its baby. So, but man takes it, and that is the same thing, and it wouldn't be that thick in mammals. So that is colostrum, which is very important for the baby.
My grandma told they make a sweet out of it. Like sweet out of
Man has found out different recipes from it. That is not the thing I'm telling. I'm talking about how we steal. It is actually stealing. Then what? From it is for its baby, right? Okay. Any doubt? Anybody? So we have completed the story of reproduction. Anybody? Any doubt? So in the next class, I'm planning to take genetics. We can do. Now, I want to ask you guys, any day, one day, can you come for, apart from Sunday, 1 hour during your holidays? If you come, we can finish reproductive health. I want only 1 hour for reproductive health, nothing more. Because, am I audible to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I want only 1 day for this reproductive health, because Sundays, the proper study time class, I don't want to use it for reproductive health. So let us use it for the next chapter. So we will begin with the genetics. So another beautiful chapter. So we can begin that. I want to go very, very slowly, writing every point. Okay, so I do write that everything, and you people follow it. When I am writing, you guys also write. Anyhow, ma'am is writing, she will send the notes. I might send the notes also, but you also write along with me to understand. And that carry a lot of weightage for the highest weightage for CBSE as well as NEET genetics. Okay, we will begin that lesson. And I would take up that reproductive health during your holidays in May. Any 1 day, 1 hour, it is enough for me. So you all tell me which day I should be taking. 1 hour you come on any Saturday during holiday. Come means on the online. Online you all come on. This is an easy chapter which you are exposed to. and there is nothing high funda there. So that particular concept, we can do it online. 1 hour is more than enough for that. All right.
Like my holidays are on April 14th.
Correct. So we will come to the conclusion when your holidays begin. So how about you? I think in May it should be better.
Yes.
May, we are also having holiday. Centum also has given the holiday. So if you come 1 hour, that's okay. I can take 1 hour, even though holiday is there. So 1 hour, if you all come on one day, so we can complete that lesson. So let me not use these 3 hours properly for that particular lesson. All right. What do you say here?
Many days, fine.
Okay. So how about Vishnu, Jonna, Nitya?
Yeah, ma'am, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Nitya?
Ma'am, the first 5 days of May, I'll be traveling, so anytime after that is fine.
Which 5 days? First to May. I mean,
Yes,
first
ma'am,
to fifth.
Yes, ma'am. First to fifth.
Okay, so we can come on. Okay, in the next class we will decide. Next class we can decide when you all can come on one day. So shall we wind it up? Oh, 5:30. Thank you for giving me little more time.
We started
Correct. We started late also, 10 minutes. So it is only 20 minutes you give them.
and also the break.
Yes.
Okay, so then 10 minutes only you give. Okay, thank you all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.